Hello my brothers and sisters in nerdiness, welcome back to the Spider's Web, and in this video we're finishing off some of the terrain pieces, or most of the small terrain pieces anyway. And we'll start off in this video with these walkways, ladders and a support banister, and typhus corrosion from Citadel is what we're starting off with. I'm doing no more paint work on these. I quite like the way they look, so I'm just going to splatter some of this typhus corrosion on here just to make it look as though it's been exposed to all sorts of weather. And it's a bit worse for wear. It's not really being cleaned, maintained, repaired properly. It's just used until it falls to pieces and then they get some more. That's the story I'm thinking of behind it. I'm not actually... I'm just making it look interesting rather than just nicely painted. Although saying that, you can get interesting, nicely painted minis, but these aren't minis, these are terrain pieces, and these lend themselves rather nicely to this corroded, rusted effects. So I do quite like doing them. So just change the camera angle there. Struggling with this camera angle for some strange reason. I'm using a different setup. I may go back to the original setup because I'm just about getting the hang of that after how many years. But now I've decided to try a different camera angle to leave my working area free in front of me rather than working around the camera and put it slightly to the side. But I'm struggling to try and get a flipping good view on it, but we'll get there eventually. Right, so now we've done that, we'll get a flat brush and some riser rust. Now, unfortunately, you don't get to see much of this because I've lost the footage. But I'll start doing this now and you'll see a little bit of what I'm doing, but unfortunately, it turns out that the typhus corrosion hadn't fully dried and I was spreading it around rather than actually going over it and dry brushing it. So I'll do this little bit just to show you how it looks. And yeah, it's good. The typhus corrosion is going all over the brush as well as the riser rust, so I give up on this bit. And basically how it looks is, well, like this when it's finished. This is just a quick still from it all done. You'll see proper photographs at the end of each individual piece. Now this part here is a bit that I've just constructed out of bits and pieces off from the sprue. It's basically like I've made like a searchlight tower kind of thing. So let's get some poly cement on there and pop the light on, and I drop it, as you can see. When I drop it, I didn't realise until now that there is a hair on it, so I take it off and I spend a little bit of time trying to get this pesky little hair off the glued surface. Once it's done, buddy's on, and Bob's your Auntie Margaret. There we go. So, there we are. It's all done, it's on, so I'll just put it to one side and allow it to dry while we get on with painting the rest of it. I did say you put it to one side and let it dry. Let's get CD palette out first before we put it to one side and let it dry. Yeah, let's put it to one side and let it dry. And let's get cracking on with these. So we're going to start off with Modeler Metallics from Vallejo, and this is bright brass. Now I did mention in the previous video that even though I do these colours a certain metallic style or metallic type, doesn't necessarily mean that it is that particular kind of metal. Because let's face it, this game is set in the far-flung future on an alien planet. So just because I'm using brass coloured paints doesn't mean to say I'm painting it to be brass. Just in case anybody out there wants to start nitpicking. Because there are a few. So these are little pieces, as I say, of terrain. I don't know whether he wants to use them as freestanding things or not. I'm going to have a word with him, and we may do something different, because I have got an idea for that water tank that I've just picked up. Yeah, see what he says. And when I say his and whatever, these belong to Andy at Wigan War Games and Roleplay Group. It's a board game war games group that meet on a Wednesday evening, somewhere between 7:30 and 8 o'clock, depending on the day. And it's at the Masonic Hall in Pemberton, near Wigan. So if anybody's up for a games night on a Wednesday evening and you're free and you want to pop down, please feel free to do so. See what we're like. If you like the group, then you're welcome to join. We're a small band, so the more the merrier. Now we'll go on to gunmetal. Again, it's from Vallejo. It's the model colour. These are quite nice to use straight out of the bottle for brush painting as well as airbrushing. They flow quite well. I'm saying quite well. They flow really well off the brush, and do a really good job of painting on without the use of a wet palette or anything. They're just a nice consistency to flow really well there, as you can see. So we'll get a few of these done, or a few parts of these models, minis, scatter terrain pieces. I don't know what you'd call them, but we'll just paint a few areas of these. And again, at the end of the video, I'll be putting photos up of all of them, what we've done, so you'll be able to see a little better of how they look. I'm not doing the back of this because the back is basically flat and it's supposed to be glued onto something. I didn't get a chance, I didn't get to see what it's supposed to be glued onto, but Andy can sort that out when he gets them back. This looks like a bit of a vent, or I don't know what you call it, like a waste pipe entrance, that kind of thing, a water pipe entrance, sewage pipe entrance. I don't know, I've not a clue, but yeah, he might make something out of it. That's up to him. I'm just painting them. He can do what he wants afterwards. Now this bit, I've got an idea of something to do. I'm going to have a word with him to see if he wants it as a standalone piece or whether he wants to attach it to something. But if I can do what I want to do, I'll do a little video of how I do it. It's not anything spectacular or anything. It's just a case of making it into a just bit of scatter terrain that's just lying down, so it's old and discarded. You know, one of those kind of terrain pieces, just like a little obstacle in the ground. Now we've done all that, let's get on to the next bit, which is Middlestone. Now, I decided to paint the big water tank with like a creamy yellowy colour. I tried this Middlestone from the Earth Paint, and it's really watery, so I changed my mind with it and tried Fire Lizard instead. It's a fairly similar colour, a little more orange, but it goes on exactly the way I want it. The Middlestone's a bit too watery for my liking, and I knew it was going to be hard work trying to get how I wanted it, so I tried with this Fire Lizard. I'm just clearing out the nozzle with a pin here because I've not used these paints for a while. And as you can see, just slightly more orange, a little brighter. It's a little thicker, but it does go on quite thin, but I'm not worried about that. I don't want a full flat coverage with this. I'm trying to make it look like it's faded paint. It's going to have rust effects over the top of it anyway, so the quality of the paintwork doesn't matter. It's just the effects I'm going for is, as I say, sun bleached paint, faded, battered. That's what I'm trying to, that's the effects I'm trying to achieve on all the terrain, to be brutally honest. It's an aesthetic, let's put it that way. And I'm enjoying doing it. I'm hoping Andy likes it when he sees them. I have given him some that I've done, and he does seem to, I think it was the barricades I gave him so far, he did seem to quite like them. but there's a bit more paintwork on that than there is on these. But we'll see what he thinks of these when he gets them. As I said, I've sent him photographs and he's given me the thumbs up on them, so I'm presuming he likes them. And I'll get to find out more when I actually give them to him and see what he says. But as you can see, this is going on quite thin, but it's still thicker than the Evil Lego one, and it's giving an interesting effect to the Mini, and it does look as though it's old, not used, and just battered, faded. And here we go with the Typhus Corrosion again, and everything is going to get a splattering of this. I like using this. Now the Typhus Corrosion, it looks very watery as you're putting it on, but there's little, you know, like facial scrub where you've got the little lumpy bits in. Well, this is the exact same. It's just got little specks of this plasticky stuff. I don't know what it is. And when you dry brush over with the Riser Rust, the Riser Rust hits those little spots and it makes it look as though it's corroded and rusted, and it gives a wonderful effect. Now, I do know that I can't remember whether it's the Riser Rust or the Typhus Corrosion that Citadel were getting rid of. I don't know which it was, but not good. Now black. This again is for Lego Black. I'm using a lot of these with Lego colours because I'm using a dry palette rather than one of my wet palettes. And all we're doing here is just going over this screen and a couple of little panels in this black on this computer monitor terminal, whatever it may be. I don't know. But it gives a nice effect having something just flat black like this. And there's a couple of little areas on here that I'd like to pick out. Again, this one is just going to be covered in rust. All you're going to see really is just the rust effects and a few little details, that's all. It's nicely metallic painted anyway. And my painter's matte whites. I'm going to put a little bit down on here, get a thin small brush and mix in a little bit of that gunmetal with it as well, because I don't want it pure white and I don't want it metallic. It gives like a, I don't know what you'd call it, like a porcelain effect, I don't know. But I'm just going over this lens from the searchlight, spotlight, whatever you want to call it, and adding a little bit more white in there as it goes. And I've realised I've gone over everything, so damp brush, wipe it off again, and then reapply it a little bit more carefully this time. And there we are. I still get a little bit on those bars that go across the lens, so once we've cleaned the brush out, we'll go back into the gunmetal and we'll paint across those bars and just basically tidy them up a little bit. That's what one of the best things about acrylics. You can always go back and tidy things up. Now again into the fire lizard and a little bit of the white, and we'll go over these rings that are on the lens to make it look as though it's a little more interesting. Not necessarily switched on, but as though there's something in the glass that's reflecting. Who knows? Now, what are we going to do? Riser Rust. Oh yes, here we go. And I'm going to show you a little bit more of the Riser Rust application in this one because we missed it with the walkways at the beginning of the video. But basically, jab it in, get it on your brush and gently dry brush it over the areas that you've put the Typhus Corrosion on. And as you can see, the Riser Rust attaches or picks up on the little specks that are in the Typhus Corrosion and gives a lovely rust effect. And you can go over it when it's smooth. You can apply it to the smooth areas as well, but if you use it with the Typhus Corrosion, it looks really good. Now I'm running out of both of these, so I need to find a replacement for a rust thing, so I'll have to have a look. So what's next? Let's think. Tell you what, let's have a look at everything first. So this is what we've got so far. I've not done the light, so I'm going to go over the light with some of the rust effects before I actually varnish it up for him. But this is how it looks, and you can see the rise of rust on the speckles from the typhus corrosion. And I've not put any on this as well, in case he wants that as something that's being used and looked after. But this looks quite nice, doesn't it? I do like this combination, the typhus corrosion and the rise of rust. There we go. And these aren't the only things that I want to paint in this video. There is one more thing that I'm looking at painting, and that is this. Again, it's from Necromunda. I don't know whether it's a first player token or whatever. It just looks nice, and I'm going to paint it. So for this part, it's Army Painter's Royal Purple. As you can see, the Army Painter logo is in the corner, and that's because this is one of the paints the Army Painter supplied me to do a review of. They sent me this free of charge a year or two ago, and I'm loving using these metallic paints. But each time I do use them, each time I use anything that I'm sent to review, then I will always put the logo of the company on screen so you know what it is. So yeah, painting on the background purple, leaving the web and the skull metallic, looking like silver, and it looks really nice. And as you've just seen, hopefully, don't forget to like and subscribe the video, or like and share the video if you've enjoyed it. It does help the channel, and if you do find it useful at all, you can always give me subscribe. And if you do subscribe, don't forget to tickle my bell. That way you'll be able to watch any future videos that come up, because you won't miss any. You can also help the channel financially with Patreon or buy me a coffee. But that's about it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Until next time, as always, stay safe and take care. God bless, and bye for now.